Пане Олександре. Вітаю вас, друзі, у медіа-центрі Україна. Нагадаю, що ми працюємо за підтримки Міністерства оборони України та Міністерства внутрішніх справ. Нас приймає готель Skyloft.
You're welcome at Ukraine Media Center. We are supported by the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine and Ministry of Internal Affairs. We are hosted by Skyloft Hotel. Thank them very much for that. And you're welcome to monitor our news on our YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Telegram channel. And I'd like to greet spokesperson of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, Oleksandr Motuzyanyk, who will tell us about the current operational situation on the front line. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. I'd like to offer for your attention information about Russian invasion as of noon today, March 30, 2022. Russia has been continuing its wide-scale armed aggression, military aggression against Ukraine. The enemy has been trying to surround and defeat the joint forces and to take control of Donetsk and Luhansk provinces. It continues to regroup its occupational forces to keep its positions they have taken, and obviously has been preparing to renew some offensive action. At the same time, invaders continue to use high-precision weapons to destroy critical infrastructure facilities practically all over Ukraine. Also, the commanders of Russian armed forces to send new forces to the territory of Ukraine and continue repressions against the local population and continue trying to create temporary occupational administrations in temporarily occupied territories. Because of limited reserves they have to renew their offensive action, the enemy has been moving their troops to areas of higher importance to them. They try to surround Ukrainian forces in eastern Ukraine and to expand control the territories of Luhansk, Donetsk Oblast controlled by them to the administrative boundaries of those provinces. To hit targets in Ukraine, the enemy has been using long-range and tactical aviation. Russian bombers Sukhoi 34 have made bomb and missile strikes against targets in Kyiv, Chernihiv, Zhytomyr, Kharkiv, and Donetsk oblasts. Also, there have been two long-range bombers, Tupolev 22 M3 from Rostov province have made rocket strikes against Mykolaiv, Nikopol, Pavlograd, and Novomoskovsk. Now, briefly, information about the key areas. In Volyn area, Volyn direction, currently in Volyn area of operations, no assault group of the Republic of Belarus has been created, but still there is a probability that armed forces of the Republic of Belarus will be engaged in military aggression against Ukraine. The probability is still there. In order to strengthen defense of border with Ukraine, the Republic of Belarus engages up to 4 battalion tactical groups from within its armed forces. In police area, the key efforts of the Russian forces have been focused on regrouping their troops and artillery shelling towards our positions and air reconnaissance using unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, or drones. Also, occupation forces have been partially withdrawn. In Siversk area, the siege of Chernihiv continues, as well as rocket and artillery shelling against civil and military facilities in the city by Russian forces. Troops from Central Military District of Russia focus their efforts on regrouping and replenishing their ammunition and fuel and lubricants. In Slobozhanщина area, troops from Western Military District and North Fleet of Russian Federation have been regrouping and replenishing their ammo. In the area to the south of the city of Izum, troops of invaders, supported by aviation, tried to break our defense lines towards Slavyansk. Also, Russians continue the siege of Kharkiv and making rocket and strikes and bombing and artillery shelling of Kharkiv and Barvinkovo. In Donetsk direction, main efforts of Russian forces have been focused on taking control of Popasna and Rubizhne, as well as taking Mariupol. The enemy continues offensive action and artillery shelling of the positions held by Ukrainian armed forces, as well as aviation strikes, air strikes, and rocket strikes against towns and villages. In order to increase their attack capacity, units from western military districts of Russia have arrived to Starobilsk in Luhansk province. In southern Bukh area, the enemy's forces include units from southern military district of Russia, and they focus their efforts on maintaining the defense of the positions that they previously took, fortifying their positions, and restoring the capacity of their units which have incurred losses. Also, artillery shelling continues towards positions held by armed forces of Ukraine, as well as aviation and rocket strikes against peaceful towns and villages. In particular, as a result of Russian rocket strike, a building of Mykolaiv Oblast State Administration has been destroyed. In Black Sea and Sea of Azov areas of operations, there is still a threat that the enemy will use high-precision weapons against defense industry, facilities, and logistical infrastructure of Ukraine. In the Black Sea, there are Russian ships having Caliber missiles. At the moment, that group of Russian battleships continues monitoring the situation and tries to conduct reconnaissance of Ukrainian troops, and also isolating the areas of operation in the northwestern part of the Black Sea. And to finish with, dear friends, I will announce the total losses of the enemy from February 24 to today, March 30. So they are approximately as follows. Manpower of the Russian forces, about 17,300 people. 605 tanks, 1,723 armed fighting vehicles, 305 artillery systems, 96 multiple launch rocket systems, 54 air defense systems, 131 airplane and 131 helicopter, 184 vehicles, 7 ships and boats, 75 tanks with fuel and lubricants, and tactical level UAVs, 81 UAVs, 4 launch vehicles of tactical level, and 21 other special vehicles. That's all information. Thank you for attention. We will win together. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to heroes. Thank you for your information, Oleksandr. Dear journalists, you can ask your questions. You're welcome. Any questions?
Thank you. Sean Walker from The Guardian. Could you tell me if you have seen any major changes in the way the Russians are behaving?
One more time, please.
Sure.
Please repeat.
Sure. Could you tell me if you, since the announcement from the Russian negotiating team in Istanbul yesterday that that the Russian army would significantly reduce its activities on the Kyiv and Chernihiv directions, have you seen any significant change in behavior? And if so, could you describe it? Thank you.
Partially, I can confirm this information. Partially, indeed, the General Staff of Ukrainian Armed Forces has been noticing some partial movement of certain units of the enemy from Kyiv and Chernihiv areas. At the same time, there is no mass-scale withdrawal of Russian troops from those areas. We don't see it. We just see that some units are withdrawn, some of them. So, at the moment, it's too early to say that it happens. Obviously, the enemy has been withdrawing units which have incurred the most losses, the highest losses, in order to replenish them. As of now, according to our information, the enemy has not finally dropped its attempts to take or at least besiege also those cities. I mean, the capital city and city of Chernihiv. Thank you. Thank you. Any more questions? Thank you for attention, dear friends. Oh, there is a question. Some question? Oh, I see. Glory to heroes.
A while ago, we noticed in Belarus there was a build-up around Brest of some 100 and plus transport helicopters that transport troops and equipment for an aerial assault into Ukraine. Have these transport helicopters been monitored as to where they are now, and if they are indeed going to be used for a aerial assault from Belarus to Ukraine?
Дякую.
Thank you. We constantly monitor the situation. Also, we have information about Russia continuing concentration of its troops, of its equipment, its weapons within the territory of the Republic of Belarus. According to one of our versions, Russia may continue moving its units from there to Ukraine. Currently, as you know, unfortunately, the territory of the Republic of Belarus is being used by the Russian army as a base for assault against Ukraine. From the Republic of Belarus, rocket strikes are made against the territory of Ukraine, against our cities and towns, our peaceful locations, peaceful towns. We carefully monitor the situation. Also, currently, we do not see any assault group involving the Belarusian armed forces to attack against Ukraine. But I'd like to repeat that the issue of engaging Belarusian troops to be engaged in the war in Ukraine is still there. So there is this probability which we don't completely exclude. Any more questions? Thank you, Oleksandr. Thank you, dear journalists. And I'd like to remind you that at 15:30 in Ukraine Media Office in Lviv, there will be a press briefing by the head of the Office of the President of Ukraine, Mikhailo Podolyak. And here in Kyiv at 4 p.m., here in our studio, we'll have the mayor of the city of Irpin, who will tell us what's going on in the city.